Welcome to the Okie Woodsman channel. Today I'm going to show you how you can stop doing this. Everyone with a tractor's done it. Put your stuff in your bucket, take it to where you're going to work, and get going. I've done it on a skid steer. I've done it on a mini excavator where you're just trying to, well, on a mini I had to saw on the floorboards in between my feet. I'm going to show you something that many of you have already seen, but I'm also going to show you something new that many of you haven't seen. Through my affiliation with sawsuppliers.com, I went on that Echo Factory tour in Lake Zurich, Illinois. On that trip, I met the owner and inventor of Sawhaul. Throughout the video, you may have seen the gentleman with the maroon shirt. That is Steve. He owns sawsuppliers.com. He's the one that made this whole trip happen, and I am incredibly thankful to him. This gentleman here is the inventor of Sawhaul, and he's further expanded that product line into Gearhaul. He handed me some products out of the back of his vehicle and said, try these out. Let's take a look and see how it works. And I also want your help in making a choice. I'll share about that in a minute. It looks like you need a 9/16 wrench. One thing I'm going to go ahead and mention is that all of these products are developed, produced, and sourced in the United States. They do all their business locally in the small town in Kansas where this stuff's built. I think that's pretty neat. This bracket is perfectly spaced for my ROPS. It could mount this way or this way. Let me know your thoughts, but these tractors come with lights in the dumbest place possible. I've heard from numerous people that these get broken off. There are holes pre-drilled here in the top of the fender. I'm thinking about moving this from here to here. Let me know if I should or shouldn't do that in your opinion. Again, these units are made in the United States. I don't think that you can say they're an inexpensive product, but you also can't say that they're cheaply made. But they're also going to last as long or longer than your tractor, no doubt about it. They're powder coated, and the gauge of steel on them is pretty darn heavy. All right, so I might run into a couple issues here because of you know, I've got the backhoe, I've got all this stuff here, but what's cool is there's a neat trick up the sleeve that this has, and I'll show you that here in a moment. These are nylock nuts, but I'm going to throw a little bit of Loctite on them. This is just medium strength Loctite. By the way, this just tested phenomenally well on the torque test channel. Just thought I'd let you know that. I do have links down in the description below. Save a lot of money over the actual Loctite brand. I'm not going to put a ton. I just want to make sure that these don't work their way off. Again, all standard. This is 9/16 hardware. It was kind of chilly last night, and this was a little bit, the Loctite was a little bit gelatinous and thick. I'm just going to hold that there in the top for the time being. I don't know if my ROPS is going to get in the way. Let me test that out. Yeah, if I leave it there, it will, but there's a neat trick up this thing's sleeve, let me tell you. You can kind of tilt it. You can position it in numerous ways. Let's see if that'll work. That could work, or how about that? That might be a little bit too saggy there. All kinds of ways of doing it. I'm almost wondering, I actually think I would prefer this on this side. But what I'm going to do right now is we're going to leave it here because I need to mount these lights differently if I'm going to put it on that side there. Put that right in there. I could mount this on the front side of this machine, but I think I want it on the back. Something else that's pretty neat is you have this spring pin right here that you can go ahead and push on, and you can pull the whole sheath off. Meaning you could go ahead, if you have this mounted somewhere else, another bracket like this in a shop, on another tractor or piece of equipment, you could literally just take this with your sheath and pop it right back on. Now there is another cool thing about that as well. So it's nice and secure. Now simply press that in and you can pull it off. We're gonna go ahead and pull this pin right here, straighten this out, and I'll show you why. Now, one thing I want to make sure of is that you understand that I'm not saying that this is the optimal placement for this particular tool. But check this out. This is a neat option. Now, of course, I've got my backhoe here. I could rotate this without my lights here and have a better option. But this gives you the ability to throw a bucket in here. How many times have you been out doing something, you've got trash cans, bags, all that stuff that you have to pick up, or you're gonna brush hog over or mow over or whatnot? This is phenomenal to me. Go ahead and throw a bucket on the machine. Of course, you can go ahead and rotate this if you want the bucket to lean outwards. That's pretty cool. I like that. This product is something that's meant for you to kind of look at and see, how could I use that? Because there's so many options for it. It's endless. You might have a specific need that I would have never have dreamt of. One more really neat accessory that I'm going to test out is the Gearhaul. This again may not be the optimal placement. You have flexibility based on your application. But since I'm going to use this primarily for my saw right now, this is where I'm going to put this. What this is meant for is that it's a heavy duty tray that you could go ahead and put whatever you want in it. Whether it be gas cans, oil cans, toolbox, whatever you can fit. Now these slots here, what they're for is to lay a string trimmer in here. Now imagine if this were on this side right here, you could go ahead and put a string trimmer or two, stagger them in there, and take them out on your tractor. Tractors are really amazing pieces of equipment, and all sorts of companies make caddies and carriers that you can mount to your 3-point. The problem is for me is I'm gonna have this backhoe on here almost all the time. I'm not gonna put a tool carrier on the back of my tractor. This could solve some upcoming issues that I have. Now again, now that I've actually set this up, I am thinking for sure I want to move these lights. I want to move this off to the side. I'm even contemplating maybe a secondary setup, like a one over there, one over here, you know, so that way I can mount a saw right here. On Coyote tractors, they don't come standard with a toolbox. I believe the toolbox mounts right here on these tabs. And it's like $100 for a piece of junk plastic toolbox. I feel like I could make better use out of this and another type of toolbox, or be able to remove it, rearrange it, or however I want to do it. This is a 2.5 gallon jug. I mean, look how much you could carry in here. I've got bar oil in here. I'm gonna put that sideways. I've got some files here. I'll just go ahead and throw them right there. This is my stump vise. I think that's pretty cool, guys. You have neat options to be able to do whatever you can imagine. This is obviously not the optimal location. If you're going to be using this tool haul setup, I probably would want it mounted a little bit lower. I do like it on the back, but I would probably bring it down to here. And because I'm primarily going to be using it for a chainsaw at the moment, I'm going to leave this up higher. And like I said, I will be moving these lights. I think my decision's been made for me. But again, share your thoughts. We're going to throw the saw back on here. And I'm just going to tilt it to that one right there, so that way it clears the ROPS. What chainsaw ought to ride permanently on this tractor? Which one should I designate for this machine? this good old trusty CS310 or my Husqvarna 545. Share your thoughts. Again, this tractor is not going to be stored inside of a shop or anything right now. It is going to be outside. I'm contemplating putting something like a billboard tarp or a tarp over it or something. But I really would like to leave a saw on this tractor. I'm sitting up here on my backhoe. It is here. There's nothing sharp, nothing to bother me. This is a larger saw. I mean, when I'm operating the backhoe, I think this is an okay location. Otherwise, I could go ahead and rotate it. Or like I said, if I move it off to the side, I think that might be just the best option. I kind of want to have a saw just always available, kind of like a truck saw or a tractor saw, right? So just something that's always designated for this, because let's say I go and drive across the property, go down, and all of a sudden there's a tree limb or something. Next thing I know, I'm trying to drag it out of the way, whatever. It might make sense to just have a saw to go ahead and cut it up and get on with my business real quick. You might say, why the CS310? Well, the truth is all but the biggest jobs, it will get me out of trouble. It'll clear a path. It'll cut some limbs up right there in half. I could even put an electric saw in there, honestly. I have numerous times stated that the Husqvarna 545 is the best all-purpose saw. 50cc, all-in-one pro saw right here with auto tune. I mean, this saw is really my favorite stock saw. The CS310 doesn't have a spark arrestor on it. And that's another thing, is right now we're really dry. I wouldn't mind putting the 310 on there because it's so good on fuel. But again, it doesn't have the spark arrestor on it, and I don't like running the saw with the factory muffler on it. It's just too wimpy. So for a stock saw with a spark arrestor, this is really what I'm kind of leaning towards. But the other thing is that CS310, that has a carbide chain on it. And I think that's going to stay on that saw. What better place for a carbide chain than on a tractor where you just need to hop off and get the job done? I'm not going to go out and cut a bunch of firewood with that. That's just there as a tool to help and have a saw when needed. I'm also thinking about mounting a chainsaw on the front loader. That's where I'd really prefer it. Using this mount for maybe the bucket or the Gearhaul or maybe a saw. I don't know. But the thing is it's flexible. The platform is flexible. I think there's just all kinds of options, and I think you can see that. I gotta say, that Husky looks pretty darn cool on there. You can get these color matched to your tractor or closer. They have green, they have orange, they have red, and this one is just a generic black. And they have different sheath lengths. This one is, I believe, like a 20-incher. They have quite a bit longer ones. I really do think that it mounted right here might make the most sense, honestly. And I could see with you being able to swivel it, if you had like a 28-inch bar, man, you could run that thing just like that. I think that'd be a pretty neat setup. Everyone, please go ahead and let me know your thoughts on repositioning the lights, where the saw should be mounted, how you would see this being useful or not useful, and helping me select what saw or type of saw I ought to have on here. Thank you for watching the Okie Woodsman channel, and I'll see you on the next one.